Oh, I should check to make sure I'm using the right microphone stuff. Huh, that seems like something a YouTuber that does this a lot would do, right? Hi, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. Okay, okay. I think all the settings are good. I think the settings are what we want. How's everyone doing? What is happening? Okay, let me get the chat going over here. Welcome, Comrade Nessie. Welcome, Deep Ocean. That is like such a good combination of like two back-to-back usernames. I know that Nessie doesn't live in the ocean, but it's all fits together. Hello, James. Hello, Consider This. Hello, Phil's Violet. Hello, Roberto. Hello, Mesa Mouse. Hello, Consider This. Oh, I already shouted you out. You're here twice. Hello, Caitlin. Hello, Aged and Green. Hello, Stormfelt Witch. Hello, Scare Bears. That's a good one. That's a good one. Hello, Jonathan. Hello, Scooter. Hello, Scotty. Hello, Billy. Hello, Gervas. Hello, Dominant Man. Hello, L. Arcand. Hello, Jeff Williams. Hello, the weirdest person you would ever meet. That's a very bold claim. Hello, Sarah Vera. Hello, Katie. Hello, Marnell. Let's see. Hello, Michael. Hello, Stacy. Hello, Trisha. Hello, Zernicki. Hello, Mr. Beansman. Hello, K.E. Miller. Hello, Kimberly. Hello, Slug Princess. Hello, Robert. Hello, Robin. Hello, Joe. Hello, Iola. Welcome. Okay, so thank you all for waiting for the stream. So, I have a bunch of things on my mind that we can like chat about. But before we get into the actual live stream, just some like quick things we all need to know before we get into it. Number one, this is an 18 plus only live stream, as it says right down there. So if you are not at least 18, please do not be here. It is for your safety and my safety, everyone's safety. Mixing adults and underage people and kink together all at once, not a really good thing to do, not really safe. So when you are over the age of 18, you can come back, watch this again, interact. We would love to have you spend your 18th birthday on my live stream. Totally a thing you could do. Otherwise, I have just some general rules and FAQs down below that you should read. Also, let me know how my audio sounds. I always appreciate people letting me know if I'm like too loud, too quiet, if there's something like fuzzy, weird going on, just so we can figure that out right away in case there is any sort of like technical issues happening. But yeah, rules, FAQ down below. Please check those out. There are just certain topics that I don't go into, either because of YouTube as a platform or because of my lack of experience there or expertise. So if you ask me a question about, mental health or a physical health concern, I'm going to tell you to go to a professional. I'm not qualified to give you medical advice or tell you if you can do, BDSM if you have a history of self-harm. It's not really up for me to decide that kind of thing. So if you do ask, I will not be able to answer. And if you have like a more general question, something we've talked about a lot before, like help, how do I tell my boyfriend I want to do BDSM? How do I tell my girlfriend I think I might be submissive? Whatever, those sorts of things. That'll be covered in the FAQ below. So please check that out because it has a full explanation and resources. But that is all the housekeeping stuff. Thank you for being here tonight on this lovely Friday. I'm wearing long sleeves today because it's not a million degrees anymore. It's probably actually it rained and then it was like completely overcast today and I'm not sure how warm it actually is. According to my phone, it's 65 degrees. So long sleeves it is, baby. This is like really comfortable. I'm not sure if this is like an actual like shirt or if it's a workout top or what, but it's very cute and I like it. So we're wearing it. We're doing it. All right, let's go. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this is an interactive FAQ. I go on rants. I answer questions, and sometimes I have a theme or topics that I want to get to. Like, I kind of want to ramble about what's going on with OnlyFans, and I also want to talk about what's been going on with my local community and bringing back events and how that's been handled. And I thought maybe some of you could commiserate or understand or would just find hearing about that entertaining. So, we'll get on to all of that at some point, I'm sure. But let's make sure we're not missing any questions. And by the way, first question actually, how is everyone doing? Have we been taking care of ourselves, drinking water, wearing our sunscreen? As the weather gets cooler, do not forget to apply your sunscreen. The UV rays will find you even in 50-degree weather. It's not just for summer. Not just for summer. Oh, that's great. You'll be talking about OnlyFans. What they did was disgusting. Indeed, indeed. I don't want to start there. I want to have that be like maybe after we get through like a couple of questions, but we are definitely going to talk about that. Ooh, finally made it to one of my live streams. So glad you could make it, Caitlin. I'm doing well today. I am excited. It's a little bit cooler out. I felt really tired earlier today. Like I was really lethargic about like 2, 3, 4 p.m. So I wasn't as productive today as I wanted to be, but I've been cleaning out my house and I've been like listing things for sale on like Mercari and places like that. So I've been like cleaning out my drawers and organizing, and that's like really awesome. I'm looking at buying a TV stand because I think I want to get like a small TV if I can find one that's like kind of cheap. I want one that I can Chromecast to because I pretty much only really watch like YouTube videos, and I'd love to be able to Chromecast YouTube videos to my actual TV if I get one, but I'm not sure how I can. I don't know if it's like I've never had like Roku or like a Fire Stick or anything like that. So if you guys have any experience with finding a TV, because I'm not interested in having like cable. I don't have any video game consoles that are, except for maybe a Switch dock, they could be hooked up to a TV. I want something that's like really, really simple, is basically like a computer monitor. Like that's all I really want, but something that I can Chromecast to, or like has built-in apps, I guess, for using. I guess I have Netflix. Yeah, I do have Netflix. So like something that's like what I'm looking for. That's my next like big purchase I'm like saving up for. And yeah, that's my life currently. It's very exciting. I'm planning on getting a TV because I figure once it starts to get like colder and darker outside, now that we're going in that direction of the year, it'll be nice to have a nice little like cozy spot to like practice rope and like watch TV at the same time, you know? So that's where my noggin is at. Good morning from Australia. Good morning, Australia. I'm so glad you could join us. It must be like real early in the morning over there, I imagine. I'm not sure what time it is. Hi, I have a question. I'm in legal age. My question is, how can I find a partner? So I do have that answered in the FAQ. I do have a video that's coming out really soon, like I think in next week. I have a video coming out where I talk about how to find events and what types of BDSM events there are. But really, like, if you want to find partners, like, you need to go to events. I know there are people that, like, just do BDSM online. And actually, I'll show you guys if I can pull this up here. I just read this book, which, oh, this book. Okay, before I get it, um, so if you don't like pay for the higher end Kindle, if you guys don't have Kindles or know about this, they advertise books on your Kindle screen when it's locked. Why is Hassan Piker on my Kindle? Like, does this not look like somebody took a stock photo of Hassan Piker and like put it on this like what is it, the description says stubborn giant single dad gorgeous small town protector, is his heart big enough to save Miss Unlucky, capital M capital U on that one. I always wonder how they pick what gets advertised, but that's not the point of what I wanted to show you all. I've been reading this book. How can I just show you guys the cover? Is that a thing? Um, God, Kindles are like, they just don't bother updating the technology in this, like at any point. They're like, listen, you don't need something that loads quickly. I guess I can't. Oh, well, the picture is so small, anyways. Anyways, I can at least read it. It's called BDSM Basics for Beginners, and it's by Michelle. Oh, it's Italian. Fegat- Fegatofi? Fegatofi? It's Fegatofi. Fegatofi. That sounds about right. My offensive Italian accent, I'm sorry. That book was hilarious. Mostly because I don't recommend buying it. It's $9 on Kindle. It's not worth it. This is my speed review for this BDSM 101 book. And essentially what it is it's like somebody took all of their blog articles and they put it together in a book with a little bit of extra padding here and there. And the person that wrote it, Michelle, from what I can tell, has never done like in person, like real life meeting BDSM people or gone to like BDSM parties or gone to BDSM events. Like they just did online BDSM. They found a Dom in Italy on the internet and then they fell in love and moved to Italy to be with that person. And so like the majority of the book is like defending cyber BDSM, but like there's almost no safety information about like how to avoid being catfished, how to avoid having your identity be stolen. Why is it a bad idea to literally move to a different continent to live with someone that you never have met in person? Like, amazing. So, you can meet people online. You know, FetLife is not really the way to do that. People do it though. That's why I bring it up. Probably not a good example there in that book. It's very rare. I actually know several people that are like family friends of friends where they like their kids they were on like a gap year or something and they met some guy in Greece on vacation and then like they fell in love, right? And then they like, mom, I'm not coming back home, I'm staying with Roberto, I love him. And then like 6 months later they get a phone call and it's like Roberto like stole all their money and their credit cards and like, don't put yourself in that situation, okay? For BDSM or otherwise. Not a good plan. But yeah, meeting people's hard. Like I think online is kind of the way people are doing it, obviously. But I always have just used like regular dating apps, like OkCupid. OkCupid actually has a lot of different ways to kind of. Well, I don't know. I don't know if this works everywhere. I live in a place that is very like kink open, poly open, like especially with like the age demographic that's on, OkCupid compared to Tinder. Like Tinder I think skews a little bit younger. OkCupid is usually more for people that are looking for like more serious relationships because Tinder really kind of took the market for people that want stuff that's like really, really casual. But OkCupid has a lot of questions that you could answer about, your like sexual proclivities and your unconventional interests, and you can like see where you agree with things on people. So you can, there's questions about like rope bondage and power exchange and stuff, and you can browse and see if somebody's answered those, and you can put, all that information in your profile. You can have an open relationship on OkCupid. Then they recently added a feature where you can, I think it's like a modifier for your sexual orientation, and you can put leather, right? So like leather community BDSM, and I think that all helps. It's not perfect. It's not easy, but it's like more likely to be real people than random strangers elsewhere on the internet. Like OkCupid has a little bit more accountability as far as somebody usually not being as much of a stranger. However, dear God, do not use OkCupid to like advertise your like pro dom business or whatever. Occasionally I see people that are on OkCupid that are like they're there because they want to like sell their panties or because they want to advertise their pro dom services, and I'm like, I respect the hustle. eventually at some point that happens enough where like OkCupid's like, okay, we gotta just ban like BDSM on as being a thing that's on this platform at all. So, just don't do that. Yeah. Anyways, I know that was kind of a ramble answer, but I have talked about how to meet partners and find people like a million times. So, just some little recent bonus tips for that. Okay, so next question. Can we start with the shadow health update? What is the shadow health update? What is that? What does that mean? Oh, is cuz is this like a medical thing? What is this like what the heck is I'm googling it and I'm on the website and I can't figure what is this? It's like VR. Is it like a VR like health thing? Like what is going on? What is going on with this? Is this for like medical students? Okay, somebody tell me what that is because I have no idea. Love the background lights and the roses border setup. Yeah, I found like this light combination I feel like works just like really well with my chair and the background. Like it's very aesthetic. I found because like this color combination right here is my favorite. Like this like lime green purple black. Like that's everything to me as far as I'm concerned. I like red too, but I find that like red it gets overdone so easily. Like every BDSM club, every nightclub, like because red lights, especially compared to like this, it's a lot less bright. It's like easier on the eyes, but it's a little overdone. It gets a little overdone sometimes, you know. Okay. Audio sounds good. Okay, awesome. Yes, hello, fellow Kinksters. Welcome. Welcome to any non Kinksters that are here hanging out. If you're a non Kinkster and you're listening right now, no pressure. But if you are and you feel like you want to chime in, like let me know. Like, why are you here if you're not kinky? Or if you're not sure you're kinky or not? Let me know. I'm so curious. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, wow, really? Okay. So Sandro says, congratulations from your audience in Brazil. I recommend to countless people here your channel, which has excellent content. Thank you for your work. Thank you so much. We love our Brazilian audience. Actually, I have quite a few people that watch from Brazil. And it wasn't a Vice. It wasn't a Vice thing. I thought I saw recently something about the Brazilian BDSM scene, and I cannot remember what it was. It may have been something in Sao Paulo. I don't remember. I saw something about it. I did actually. I found a Portuguese. Actually, I'm not sure if it's Brazilian Portuguese or Portugal Portuguese. Let me see if I can find them. I found a person that does like self ties for rope, and everything's in Portuguese. And I can like if I have the subtitles on, I know enough Spanish and I know enough about rope bondage to follow along, even though it's like 3 degrees of separation from a language I speak. I'm like I can kind of infer things. The channel is called Las Leverett. It's LASSLEVIRINT. The titles are like usually in English, so they're easy to find. So, for example, they have one that's called puppy tie, self-tie puppy tie. If you look that one up, I can just show you guys the channel here. I think I can do that, right? That's the thing I can do on my phone. Don't be mad at me for how low battery I have. This is the channel. There we go. I don't know if it'll focus. This is the channel. I found them in I was looking for interviews with Akira Naka, and this was in some playlist, and I was like, oh cool, and I bookmarked a bunch of their stuff because I like free tutorials, and I've been doing like way more self-tying lately, and so it's nice to have just like lots of different references for things where people are self-tying instead of doing things on other people, because I have decided that it is like legit, like even if I was drawn to it, it's legit outside my risk profile to tie other people. Like I'm like, I can tie for myself, I can tie on me, maybe I'll get into self-suspension. That's kind of the direction I'm going in like my kink journey right now, is like I'm really focusing on rope because I can do it at home really easily. Uh, but just I am terrified at the idea of tying other people up. That's just going to be a hard no for me. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed the channel, because I know finding resources, especially, I know there's like Spanish language channels. I found a French one before. I think it's French Canadian. But like finding BDSM stuff, especially in other languages, can be really hard. So I know it's like just a tiny thing, but maybe you'll find that helpful. Hope you're not in the hurricane path. That's probably gonna mess with my weekend. I lived on the East Coast for a long time. I lived kind of like all up and down the whole, like, literally the whole East Coast. I've kind of lived on. No hurricanes here. Fortunately, I'm on way the opposite end. If anything, I would be at risk more for a typhoon than a hurricane. But yeah, definitely not having to go through that. And if any of you are in hurricane territory, be safe. If you need to evacuate, do that. Stock up on water, all that good stuff. Hurricane prep is something I've done since I was like, I don't know, 4. Like, I have a very early memory of a hurricane where I think by the time it reached where we were, it was like a category 1 or 2. I think it was a 1. It was a really minor hurricane by that point. And so we stayed, and I just remember like it flooded a little bit in our street, and like going out and like being convinced that I would be like I would be able to find a fish. Like all I wanted was to go out in the street and like find a fish. That was all I wanted to do. It was like, oh my god, the street's flooded, therefore it's rivers, which means fish live in rivers, which means I can now find a fish in my street. Like, so exciting. Did not find a fish, sadly. It turns out it's a really bad idea to like wander around in the storm drainage from a hurricane barefoot. So that plan did not last very long, but yeah. I missed your bloodplay episode. Can you give me a quick rundown, please? No. No. There is a reason why I have that as a specific video, is because I don't talk about that during live streams, and also the content is potentially like super triggering for a lot of people, so I don't want to randomly get into that in a live stream. So if you want to watch it, pop it on 2x speed, subtitles. I do that a lot. Check it out. I try to keep stuff like that could potentially be really triggering in its own content vortex, just because I want to make sure people are able to, not engage with that at all if they don't want to, unfortunately. Ooh, going to a munch based around female-led relationships next week. Very exciting. We love this. We love this. Okay, so let's talk about OnlyFans. Let's talk about OnlyFans. So, where do I begin? I guess what is OnlyFans for the uninitiated? OnlyFans is, well, right now anyways, it's like a social media platform that wanted to be Pornhub, Patreon, and Instagram, like at the same time, basically. And originally everyone was like super excited about it because it's like, oh my gosh, this is a really great way to like do sex work while dealing with COVID, right? So like people that maybe were like full service, that had like really limited clients because of lockdowns, or people that maybe worked at a strip club that, couldn't meet people or do their jobs because all the clubs had shut down, so on and so forth. There are people that maybe did sex work on other platforms or Twitter or, other cam sites or whatever. Like they all kind of went to OnlyFans because of like how much potential there was there as a website. But over time, I'm not sure like who originally like initiated it kind of becoming more in the public eye, but over the time it was around, more and more people that were like mainstream went on to OnlyFans to also make content. And it sort of became this weird mishmash between like sex workers that use the platform and like the Bella Thornes and the Tanamojos of the world that were like otherwise just like regular YouTubers or famous TikTokers or even like now like actual celebrities that moved onto the platform either to not post anything sexual at all and or something to post like nudes on or like suggestive content, right? So like maybe like a mirror shot with like really revealing like tight leggings on or like a bathroom nude, like something that's like really like just simple, not explicit, but it, or in the case of people like Tana Mojo, just like literally reposting stuff they had put on Instagram and then selling it to their fans again for a fee on OnlyFans. And there's already been a lot of controversy around OnlyFans previously for like how they structured like payouts, for example, and like limitations around payouts and like credits you would get for like inviting other creators and the percentage that OnlyFans themselves took. And, they've been taking 20% from people's earnings for a long time. And so you see this sort of like weird combination of both like basically very vaguely suggestive content over to like people literally making pornography on it. My understanding of the TOS is that it's always been an absolute fucking nightmare. Like I was under the impression that at least, a year ago or so, it was against TOS, for example, to show like full on penetration. Like you could do like masturbation, but you couldn't show a penis going into a vagina. Like that was against TOS, but like sex toys, masturbation, like that was fine, but you couldn't show penetration. So it was already like kind of like more like softcore, I think, than anything. Heaven help you if you ever tried to do anything kinky or BDSM on there because they had like if you go way back in Cam Damage's timeline on, I think it was Twitter, is where Cam talked about this, is like they had weird like TOS around like you couldn't post like potentially annoying content because um basically OnlyFans didn't want to deal with like chargebacks if people like clicked on something and then it wasn't what they wanted or expected. And so they're like, oh yeah, like it's against TOS to post like potentially annoying content, which I guess like certain types of BDSM would fall under. And so like whether or not you could post like kinky stuff was kind of vague. Like what types of sex acts were okay or not was also vague. It's always been a goddamn nightmare. And from the very beginning, I kind of looked at this as like, oh, like the second OnlyFans was like, we're gonna get Tana Mojo and like Bella Thorne on this platform. I was like, okay, this is over. This is no longer like they were barely ever like pro sex worker, but they have like for a very long time now like actively distance themselves from like actual sex workers and have wanted to like clean up their act. And the fascinating part about this that connects actually back to kink culture stuff really well is sort of the most recent thing that's happened is there's been a even more confusion over what is now allowed on OnlyFans because they have been trying to basically court payment processors and also potentially trying to court for getting VC for an IPO. And they basically have been under pressure from a combination of like basically the conservative minded people that like have all the money and the power that don't like sex workers, that don't like, I guess they're fine with Pornhub, but like sex workers getting to post their own stuff and having control over it is a big no-no. And what was interesting is like depending on what articles you read, you get the impression that like what MasterCard was asking for is they were like, we need to have like verified consent and verified like proof of age in like this particular type of content before it's like posted. Like they basically, I think what they were kind of asking for is like, how you see like porn websites have like those like couch sessions where it's like, hey, this is like a really really like light negotiation kind of a thing where you establish that like they're into this and they're gonna want it. It's gonna be good, happy, yay, fun times. And basically OnlyFans was like, nah, we don't really want to do that. So I guess we're just gonna get rid of the like explicit videos instead. Like that seems like a better option than having to like verify people's ages. Which I think if you're looking on the scale of OnlyFans, like having a trackable system to like verify ages and consent would be like a really big liability on their part. So I can kind of see from a company standpoint why maybe they wouldn't want to do that. But it sounds like they were being requested to do something, and then instead of like doing that, they were like, now we're just gonna nuke this particular type of content because it's easier for us. So what that means is sexually, I believe it's in particular sexually explicit video is what a lot of people are talking about is being banned. If somebody knows if it's video and photo, let me know. But I know in particular video is like what people have been talking about a lot. So, and by that they mean like, you know, masturbation, penetration, like any bukkake, what that kind of stuff is like, no. But like nudity will still be fine, and suggestive things like, again, like the shower pictures and like tight leggings, like that stuff will be fine. But anything that's sexually explicit will no longer be okay, which essentially means that like all of the sex workers that built this platform that were paying OnlyFans 20% of their money every like payout, or I don't know how the 20% works, I think it's every payout, like they built this fucking platform and gave them a shit ton of money, like their content is no longer allowed, so that way people like Tana Mojo can continue to resell the content they already put on their Instagram on OnlyFans. And so they're moving from, they Tumblred it. They did a Tumblr, is what happened. They did a Tumblr. Because for some reason, OnlyFans was like, you know what is a good business model? Getting rid of everything that made our platform what it was. We're going to be another generic, photo-based, like shittier version of Patreon. Because you know what? I will say one thing. Patreon has had to do a lot of work over the years to keep up with what is like allowed by their payment processors. And that takes a lot of effort. Like it's like having to constantly navigate things. They had to move some of their payment processors like overseas because they had trouble with the ones that were based in America. Like they had to do a lot of stuff, but they've tried their best to like allow for, you know, the furry artists of the world that draw like sexually explicit furry pornography to like still be able to be on Patreon. And they're at that OnlyFans has gone, I think, is much more like anti like their core clientele base, whereas like Patreon I think has tried really hard to like hold on to the majority of people that like actually use their website. And OnlyFans is like, yeah, we don't really care. Like Bella Thorne makes like $1 million a month on our site. Like we could literally only have her and like we would probably be fine as a company. So they literally don't care about anyone else at this point. And it's like really like, okay, well it's gonna be fun when like the only thing you're left with is like 5 celebrities and no one else uses their platform, because why would I pay $10 to see a single photo of somebody making a grilled cheese in a bikini? Like, I mean, given I don't do any content that's related to OnlyFans, and I've never moved to OnlyFans because I knew from the fucking start that they were anti-sex worker and they were eventually going to do bullshit like this. So I've had a lot of people over the time that it's been around be like, oh, are you gonna like post stuff on OnlyFans? And like, one, I already have a Patreon. I don't need another place to like splice up my support. Also, like income wise, it doesn't make sense because Patreon takes like 6% of my money, not fucking 20% of it. So I was like, you know, financially it doesn't really make sense. And also in terms of like their ethics as a platform and how clearly that they're sort of like, they like that sex workers bring in clients that get them money, but they could not give less of a shit over like making their jobs easier or like making them happy on the platform in any way. So yeah, I don't want to give them a cut of my money because I don't need to. So no. So there will be no OnlyFans from me. I want to take bets on how long OnlyFans as a platform will survive now that they have presumably Tumblred themselves. And I imagine that it's like Tumblr or Quibi, like it's like they didn't I don't think they understood like what made their platform actually work, and now they're trying so hard to get to that next step that they don't realize what they've done, I think. And you know, the reason why this connects back into the kink community is several years ago, and I've talked about this before, is FetLife actually had a big problem with payment processors as well. This is like the dark part of the internet that people don't realize. Like this is the 90s anymore. Like the internet is not the wild west of freedom where like anybody can make a porn website, and as long as you have like a PayPal button on your website, like you can like sell porn, you know? The payment processors of the world have a lot of control over like what kind of content is easily accessible online that you don't need a Bitcoin wallet to pay for. And they generally skew very conservative. They generally skew like anti BDSM, anti, you know, like implied consent, anti, like, they want the most vanilla possible, like religiously sensitive pornography that can possibly be produced. And like anything else, they don't like really care to like see on the internet. Like, I think if it was up, it's almost like they want a back door to like banning pornography on the internet. And this is like the way they're doing it is like, okay, well, we can't like make the government ban porn on the US internet, but we can make it really difficult for certain varieties of pornography to exist in easily accessible places. Which, by the way, just means that all of that stuff gets to more and more shady websites. And with FetLife, they had a problem with like many different categories of things that FetLife was allowing at the time. Like FetLife used to have a lot more pro-dom stuff on it, a lot more, you know, people selling their underwear, socks, used panties, you know, high heels, things like that. You know, I think they had like water sports, I think, blood play, needles, anything involving like CNC, I think was a problem as well. And essentially, like FetLife had to basically like nuke all of that content from their platform, and all of it had to be set to friends only. They shut down all of the groups that were related to it, and eventually, you know, once FetLife kind of figured things out a little bit better and worked around a few things, a lot of that did get restored, but it has not been the same as a platform since then. Like there was a good while there where you could like you couldn't find stuff about bloodplay on VetLife. You like you know, there was you can if you go back through sort of like the news postings on FetLife, like you can find the thread where people were talking about this, and it's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments long. And you know, like FetLife, the fetish website, is like what content they can have on their platform is not actually decided by FetLife. It is decided by payment processors. And the crazy part about that is like FetLife is not like a paid like subscription service. They use payment processors for people that are like buying optional memberships to FetLife. That's it. Like just optional stuff. Imagine how much more control payment processors would have if your entire website, your entire app was based around paying to see people's nudes and lewds. And that's how you get OnlyFans. Though to be fair, I think part of it is OnlyFans is also like just greedy. Like, cause they want to make more money, right? They want to be able to make more money to do an IPO, to get bigger, to recruit more and more actual mainstream celebrities to their platform. Like that's all part of the plan. Anyways, I rambled about my opinions on OnlyFans for a minute. So let me know what you think, and I'll catch up with the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are, because I basically was going to bed. I briefly checked Twitter because somebody, I actually originally read a comment on my YouTube that was like, I swear it said that Pornhub banned porn. And I was like, no, that can't be real. And then I went to Twitter and then I saw it was OnlyFans. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. That was eventually going to happen. Which is like, I hate saying that. I wish it wasn't true. But it was like, it kind of seemed inevitable. Like, it kind of seemed like, oh yeah, I know what I imagine will happen here. This is like one last thought I want to get out there is because of how vague, like everyone's like confused because of how vague the wording is. And that's on purpose. Like the wording is not vague because their lawyers are stupid. The wording is vague so that way they can unevenly apply whatever their new guidelines are. So they can go to one person, they can go to the Belle Delphines of the world, and they can say, okay, well, you make millions of dollars for us. So like you posting sitting on a dildo that's like stuck to a chair, like for you that's gonna be fine, but for this next creator that has like 10 people that follow them regularly, that is barely, you know, being able to pay their rent based on this, like then that content is no longer going to be okay for them. It's because they want it to be vague, so that way it's harder to hold them accountable if they apply things unevenly. Because like, oh well, you know, this vague and it's, you know, different situations, different nuances, blah blah blah. Because the more room they have for their own individual interpretations to things, the easier it is to get their own rules, kind of depending on who it is they're either playing favors to or not. So yeah. Anyways, I'll answer some more questions. I do go through questions in the order that I get them. So if I haven't answered your question yet, it's because I haven't gotten to it yet. But we'll get through some more questions, and then when we get to the part about OnlyFans and your guys' thoughts, we'll talk about it more. Okay. You can hook a Roku onto a normal TV. It's pretty cheap and works well. Well, I was looking at Amazon, and it looks like there are TVs that have like Roku or like Fire like built into it, kind of. Oh, we have a super chat. Can I share my experience on my first tickle session? Yeah, go for it. Oh yeah, if this maybe didn't make sense to you, OnlyFans is an adult content app / website. Which, by the way, how can FetLife not have an app and be on the App Store, but OnlyFans can? Make it make sense, because it doesn't. It doesn't. Buy a TV that has a Roku. I have a Roku. LG smart TVs are good. Oh, I don't have a Costco membership though. Do I have any friends that have a Costco membership? I'm just picturing doing a BDSM scene, but the scene is me being tortured by having to go into a Costco. That's the scene. That's it. Just being in a Costco. You can get a Chromecast and hook it up through the HDMI port and use your phone to cast it, or you can just connect a laptop to the TV, which has an HDMI port that can do it. Yeah, I was looking at a way to like cast from my phone. I didn't know there is like a Chromecast, like a device that's called a Chromecast. Listen, I try not to be an old lady about technology, but I just can't keep up. Oh. Oh, that's what that little dongle is. Oh. Okay, that's like 20 bucks. Okay. That's not too expensive. Does a Roku come with a Chromecast? I'm gonna have to research this later. I don't even, what's the difference between a Chromecast and Fire and Roku, and there's like other Fubo, whatever the other options are, whatever other 4-letter words that haven't been taken by a different company. All of those. I just got this incredible urge to like make pancakes. I will probably make pancakes later, I think. I have the stuff to make pancakes. It just sounds like cozy. But I need to finish editing a video tonight because I'm doing an update to the Marilyn Manson story again. Because there have been some actual legal things happening, and I'm reading court case documents. Nothing I ever thought I would do on my YouTube channel, but here we are reading court case documents. So yeah, more Manson updates are being completed at this point. How exciting! The issue with OnlyFans is that it was never actually intended for porn content. It's hard to justify paying to look at cooking tutorials, though. Exactly. The banks aren't supporting OnlyFans. Yeah, I mean, you basically said what I was getting at. The problem is, though, is that like OnlyFans never made it clear it wasn't for pornography. They were very happy to let people make OnlyFans accounts under the predilection of it being for porn. Like, they're like, if we can just imply it could be for porn and then allow people to make money for us posting porn and never make the rules clear at any point, then like we're fine, right? Like not a problem there. Supposedly. That's the logic. We do love Hassan Piker. I guess Hassan is like he's like, people are upset because he makes money on Twitch. Like, the Hassan Pikers of the world are not the problem. Just gonna put this out there. The Hassan Pikers of the world are not the problem. It's the corporations that don't pay taxes, like literally pay $0 in taxes. That's the problem. An individual person that makes money on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, that pays like 50% of their income in taxes, is not the issue. Not the issue. Okay. ASMR time talking about politics. You're welcome. Mine used to show old authors, going all the way back to like Mark Twain and all. Does it? Cause like, here's another ad that I got on my thing. This one's called The Blind Date. What happens when your blind date is your brother's best friend? I almost thought that was incest for a second, and thank God it wasn't. But yeah, they really like, I mean, to be fair, this is about 50% BDSM erotica and 50% BDSM nonfiction, with a little bit of like philosophy and like economics like books on here, and that's like pretty much it. So uh they don't ever advertise like, I don't know, like a Slavoj Žižek book on here or something. They're like, you know what, woman, erotica advertisement. Like, that's the thought process I think they do for the Kindle, because you know the majority of the Kindle like ebook market, like a big portion of that is what we would call like Harlequin romance novels or like paperback romance novels, like, because they get e-published now. You don't have to go through a Harlequin imprint to be able to publish your erotica. You just like don't edit it at all. You don't get anyone to look at it. You just plop it on the Kindle store. You put it on Kindle Unlimited, and that's how you make your money. Not that you make a lot of money doing that, but if you build up a readership, like, that's pretty much the route to publishing now, because it is. And Lindsay Ellis has a video where she talks about this, from her experience publishing her recent book. But you know, I follow a lot of like erotic authors and that kind of genre wheelhouse on Twitter, and that's like the route is e-publishing, self-publishing. And it means there's a lot of really low quality crap on the market, but it also means that there is more room for, you know, unconventional things to also potentially get a little bit of spotlight. So, you know, más o menos. Mm. Mm. Oh, welcome, the MP experience. Thank you for joining us. Don't know why I did a Romanian accent for that, or whatever that was. But you're welcome, welcome. Um, ooh, okay, so I think this is a two-parter. So I think I got all of it. I recently reached out to someone I almost had a relationship with, and when I explained to him how I responded to him physically, getting butterflies, getting breathless for a minute, my heart skipping a beat whenever he touched me, and I also mentioned I think I'm a sex indifferent ace. He said it sounds more like I may be demi or sapio, and he thinks it does all three. Oh, there's a third. For demi to be considered part and parcel to the ace spectrum. I mean, I certainly think that demi is part of the ace spectrum. I think different people think about that differently. But I also feel like here's the thing. So, like, when you're describing, like, the getting butterflies, the heart skipping a beat, like that, like, to me, that sounds like romantic attraction. Like, my experience of, like, when I'm romantically interested in someone, although I don't really get this with men very often, because with men, I tend to go more towards, like, friendly feelings first, but for some people I'm attracted to, I do get that, like, butterflies, nervousness kind of a feeling, um, but, like, to me, that describes more, like, what I would consider romantic attraction, so, doesn't necessarily have to be a sexual thing. Because I think for me, like the delineation I make is okay, sexual attraction is like I want to have sex or I am joyfully imagining sexy things happening with like this particular individual person and like that's what I want. Whereas like that romantic excitation is like, oh, I'm really excited to be like romantically involved with this person and like date them and be around them and be like emotionally close to them. Like that's sort of how I make those things different. Of course, like I am sure that people that are aromantic can also have feelings of that like nervousness, butterflies, like excited attraction stuff, but then that could be sexual and platonic. So it totally depends on who you are as a person. Like you can have those same responses and like it can be routed through your brain different ways. Does that make sense? Um it sounds like okay, so it thinks it does all three for Demi to be. So is he saying are you is he saying that for like Demi people are also sapiosexual and also sex indifferent? Personally, I don't use the label sapiosexual. I don't want to gatekeep what's allowed to be a sexual orientation or not. Um, but I think that the term sapiosexual has been like co-opted by people that are really just ableist. And I do not want ableism to be endorsed with a label. So that's my thoughts on that. If anyone here is sapio, I'm sorry. Your feelings are valid. I just the label, like if for me, I consider it to be a red flag if I see someone that says they're sapiosexual on like OkCupid. I'm like, oh, okay, you're one of those people. I think also people confuse being smart with like liking futurism or liking to read articles about scientific discoveries. Like subscribing to like the the r/futurism subreddit uh does not actually make you intelligent, as it turns out. And I think people confuse liking science as being intelligent, uh, which is telling. And I could go on a rant about this, but I feel like sometimes the definition of intelligence is like so narrowly defined that what they mean is like you need to be academically intelligent in a STEM field, as opposed to like the arts or like kinesthetic intelligence or emotional intelligence or like a million other things. Like usually what they mean is like I want you to know like I want you to be able to quote from like the spoke Siddhartha. Like I want you to be or like what is that one? Sorry, I just like cannot remember certain like Zar Zarathustra Zarathustra is the name of the book. A book for all and none. Yeah, sorry, I never got to talk about any like German philosophers in any of my philosophy classes I took in college, so not part of my wheelhouse. Someone asked, "Is it worth the cost for Field?" I have never used Field. I have a couple of friends I know that have used it before. I don't know anyone that has used it that has like met a partner on Field. That doesn't mean it doesn't work. I just don't have any experience with it to be able to say one way or the other. Is it only paid or do they have a free version? Because like I don't pay for OkCupid. Your girls were rocking the free version. I've always like been worried about trying it because it kind of gives me Tinder vibes, and I really don't want to pay for something where it's like people are like just desperate for COVID hookups, you know? Um, what? Okay, well, it says the app is free. It looks like there's not it has a 4.4 out of 5 on the App Store, but the couple of reviews that pop up are like not super positive. So I don't know. I'm not sure if it's worth it. I would say try it if you can have a not paid version, and if you like how it functions, go off of that. But yeah, I don't have any personal experience with that one. Yeah, definitely don't advertise dominatrix services on OKC. Yeah. Let's stop. Because, I always wonder, like, how much of that is just, like, catfishing, too. Because anywhere that you can potentially match with people is gonna have just catfish out the window and bots. Like, I would say, like, the experience with dating apps for people that I know that identify as men is almost everyone I talk to ghosts me after like 2 messages, or uh, there are nothing but bots, and you have to take so much time like liking people and sorting through things, and it ends up being like someone's really advertising their OnlyFans account, and like it ends up being a nightmare. Whereas like for women, it's like I have 3,000 people that like me, but all of them are men in their late 40s that have like nothing in common with me and like 3 kids and have been married twice. Like that's the spectrum of experiences on dating apps, and they're all unpleasant in their own ways. It's not uh dating online is a gauntlet to get through, you know? Uh if it wasn't for the pandemic, I'd be telling people to go out and actually meet people in real life, take the plunge, peeps. Well, and I think the best solution that's like between meeting people in real life and online is meeting people from your local community in local online events. Because the options aren't just like local in person or international online anyone. There are a lot of places that organize like just local online meetups, Discord chats, munches that are virtual. And I have a video again like coming out pretty soon where I talk about this. And I have an older video that's like finding online events like right from when the pandemic started. So that's like an older one you can check out. But there are options, and definitely, especially if you're like a younger person, you're more like technologically hip, and you like Discord, you like the sorts of, I think even Telegram as well. There's Telegram chats too that you can try out that some people organize, and there are options. There are options. Are any of them good? The ones in my area aren't. I'll save the rant about what's going on in my local community for maybe a little bit closer to the end, but I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed is what I will say. Listen, I love doing BDSM in real life, but the people that fucking organize shit are just next level sometimes. Oh god, I've been yeeted to the bottom of the chat. Oh no. Um oh, I've probably missed a bunch of questions now. Okay. Oh my god. Um okay, I'm so sorry. I okay. Oh, okay. I think we just barely like I managed to get back to the top of the chat. Thoughts on VR BDSM? Okay, so virtual reality. My thought is that a thing people can do now? Listen, anything that allows people more like accessible options to do BDSM, to do it long distance, like a lot of people, like even non pandemic times, right? Transportation issues, schedule issues with work. The location may not be accessible for people with disabilities or mobility aids or impaired hearing or impaired vision. And having another option where like you can access things easier, I am pretty much going to be pro that. I don't know how you would set up, like, is this like VR BDSM where it's like, you know how they have VR porn where it's like, it's not like other real people you're doing stuff with, but it's like a program that's set up to simulate something? Or is it like if Second Life was in like a VR scenario and you're like meeting other random strangers and like doing role play with VR? I guess there's a lot of directions you could take that, but as long as people are like happy and they're staying safe and, it's not leading to people like getting doxxed or like, severe motion sickness or something, like, sure, more options. We love it. Red light preserves your night vision. Oh, I did not know that was true. Can I be considered kinky if I haven't done kinky stuff, just book learning? Sure. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do lots of book learning before they ever actually do BDSM, so for sure. Mm. True. A lot of folks in the community have social anxiety or are on the spectrum or are extreme introverts. They normally are able to find someone to interact with. I mean, there are literally munches and events that are designed for introverts and, nerds and people that are on the spectrum, like neurodivergent people. And those are all really, really great. So there are options, although, less of them these days than there used to be, but they're still out there for sure. I did talk about OnlyFans. This was in the past, so um, you probably heard me talk about OnlyFans. But yes, if you're listening to this now, rewind because I did talk about OnlyFans, and I'm sure we will talk about it again here in the moment, in a moment, because I'm sure we're gonna get to that part of the comments again. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, honey, just one honk? No more honks? Okay. Um, yeah, I sort of the people I know that use Field are like poly people. Like they're not necessarily kinky, but there is like so much overlap between the two that you will find people that are poly and kinky. I'm here because I want to get involved in the BDSM community when I move out. For sure. Good idea, good plan. Oh, okay. Interesting question. Someone asked, what do you think about going to a kink club if you have HSV? I've never been to such a club, but I would like to go. How would you handle that? It depends on your intentions. Because if you're going to a kink club to have sex, that is a very different consideration versus going to a kink club to play non-sexually, not involving your genitals. If you're just going to a kink club to meet people and have a flogging and do rope that doesn't go around your genitals or come in contact with your fluids, like I don't know anybody where that would be a problem where they like would literally treat you like a leper for having HSV. Like how many people in the US have HSV? Like is it like 50%? How many people have HSV in I don't know if you're in the US, but we're gonna Google it. Okay, so for people that 47.8% of people have HSV1 in the US. Um, those are people ages 14 to 49. So like 18 to 49, like that's like core like kink community people right there. And then 12% have HSV2. I'm not sure if there's like overlap between those two categories, but like easily almost like we could easily say like 60% of people have HSV of some kind. So like the majority of people at a kink space probably already have HSV. If you are playing sexually though, and you are going to be getting your fluids on stuff, you're going to be like general standard practice for BDSM clubs is to have a cover over something, and the materials that people like play on typically are like marine leather, for example, where you can like sanitize it with like a sanitizer and then wipe it down. And if you're going to a club, they should have like hospital grade cleaners they're using, especially in the age of COVID. But yeah, usually there's like barriers down on things. You swap things out. Like you have your own sheet that you bring. You wipe stuff before and after. Like that's standard, even if you're not getting fully naked and not playing sexually. If you're playing sexually, always, 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 always disclose. Always disclose. It is better to be upfront and be rejected than it is to lie and hide and then give someone HSV non consensually. I know 2 people that have gotten HSV non consensually, HSV2 in particular, because their partners did not disclose that they had sex with other people that had HSV without protection. Now, the testing for HSV is very controversial in terms of how accurate it is, if it, false positive rates, false negative rates, if it can tell between HSV 1 and 2, how you can have one on the other genital or on the mouth, and it's very confusing. It's very complicated. There's actually a really good account on Instagram. I'll see if I can find kind of quickly that talks about HSV stigma a lot. And that's like their whole like job is that. Let me see if I can find them. Give me a second, because I think this is important too. I'm certainly not an expert on this because I'm not a sexologist, not like really a sex educator. But it is something that a lot of people have a lot of stigma and questions around. But yeah, I think disclosure is always good, and I know people that like, because they're so desperate for sex, like, do not disclose that they have HSV. And I don't agree with doing that. Okay. So the person is Sex L Education, which is ran by Emily L. DePasse. Let me see if I can pull up a post from them so you can like see their name. Okay. So here we go. This is the account. Here's why a cure for herpes won't end the stigma. So like go on there. They have like tons of like good, like well-researched, up-to-date information on HSV, and all sorts of stuff. And I really encourage people to check it out because they have a lot of work around like stigma and like staying safe and transmission rates and detection and testing, and just like everything on it is like so good. So like, here for example, here's like a checklist on like differences between like HSV 1 and HSV 2, so hence very hard to tell that they're different, despite the fact that like testing indicates that one type of HSV is technically more prevalent as far as we know versus the other. So yeah, disclosure is good. I think that's like how you would handle it. It's just like if you think you're going to interact sexually and like, let's say for example, you're doing a rope bondage scene and someone is going to be using like a non-washable, like non-natural fiber rope like on your genitals, or they're going to flog your genitals with like a leather flogger that can't be properly sanitized. Like at that point you have to have a conversation with them about like transmission risk and, all that stuff. And again, like that Instagram page would be a really, really good resource. Like literally, I'm pretty sure you could just DM her and be like, hey, I'm into BDSM, I have HSV, like what is the transmission risk if someone's using like a non like sanitizable toy like on my genitals? Like could they give it to somebody else as like a vector from like this thing? Personally, regardless of what it is, if somebody has like recently had testing or not, like I personally think as a standard for me for my risk profile, even if the person I'm playing with like doesn't have anything they're positive for, got tested recently, anytime somebody's bodily fluid comes in, whether that be blood, semen, anything like that, that is like now their toy. Like if it's a hank of rope that goes over their genitals, if it's a leather flogger that I flog them in the genitals with, anything like that, that's now their toy. And I'm not going to use that on anyone else because I don't even want the risk that it could transfer something. And also like intimately on like just a like on like a, does that feel like internally like comfy and like fun and nice to do? I think I'm not comfortable either as a bottom or as a top being like, I'm gonna use this rope like against somebody's labia and then not wash it because I can't, because it's like a natural fiber that like can only be washed under very specific conditions. And then if I do that, it gets like, oh, there's a bunch of crap. Like, if I'm doing rope on somebody's genitals, it comes in contact with them directly, it gets fluid on it. Like, the idea that that would then touch somebody else's genitals also intimately is just like gross to me. Because at that point, I'm fluid bonding. Because you're fluid bonding with people when you do that. Like, you are fluid bonding people together that maybe have never interacted when you're doing that. Because you can't clean it. And this comes up every time I talk about this. There is no way to completely 100% guarantee sanitize things like leather. It is a porous object. It is very easy for microbes to hide in like the imperfect surface of the leather. There is no way to sanitize it without damaging it and destroying it. At least the types of leather that you would see being used in a toy. Marine leather, like the stuff that you see on like the surfaces of like a play piece of equipment, like a bench or something, that's a little bit different. It's not the same as like a spongy like elk flogger, is really gonna like soak all that stuff up. It's a little bit different, but it's like you cannot 100% guarantee that that will be fully sanitized. There is no way to guarantee that now. The general advice is like leave it in a sunny place for several weeks. I cannot remember top of my head what the if it's like a couple of months or if it's weeks. I can't remember exactly. I'd have to refresh my memory on that one. But like the advice is like you leave it in sunshine, and like at that point, after like a very, very long period of time just from sunlight exposure, most of the contaminating bacteria or the viruses that could be transmitted would have like died off on the surface. You can't guarantee that'll work 100%. That's like a risk profile thing you'd have to have a conversation about. But anyways, that's my ramble. I hope that helped. It is always difficult trying to navigate consent and safety and wanting to play well with others, I suppose. So hopefully that helped. Best of luck to you, and let me know if you have any further questions. But yeah, that Instagram account that I recommended, again, they are SexL Education on Instagram. And actually they don't accept DMs, but they do have a website. And definitely like browse through their posts, because I imagine they have. I've seen something on here at least one time about like BDSM or something like that. And I'm sure they have a post about that, because it's like obviously a question that some people would have. But yeah. Anyways, next question. If you're asking a question, please check the FAQ. If it's in the FAQ, I will not answer it. That includes questions like, how can I find clubs? I specifically mentioned that as something that I've already talked about. It's in the FAQ. What do you think of Rory's Brainworks? His videos just recently ended up in my recommendations. I do not give opinions on other YouTubers, especially ones that I don't know personally. I cannot vouch for either the ethics of them as a person, the accuracy of their education as a channel. But I hope that any person that's on YouTube making kink content is a good person, but I can either verify or speak to the content of their character. So, unfortunately, cannot be of help there. What do you recommend for where to start with self-ties? In the most general sense, single column ties. If you don't know what that is, perfect. You're in the great place to research. I would recommend going to Shibari's study. They have a really great beginner series. I believe VoxBody as well teaches online classes. You can find them on FetLife or just like voxbody.com. And they have, I believe it's monthly beginner online Zoom classes that will start you from the ground up with tying yourself. But in the most general sense, like learning how to tie a single column tie. Pretty much, that's where you'd start. As you would start if you were tying another person. I'm north enough that quote hurricane is almost always stupid amounts of rain rather than dangerous, mostly. I mean, You know, flooding can be dangerous in its own way, but yeah, when it's been like 4 days of solid rain, it's can be a lot. It's still not fun. I already answered the question on VR. Again, if I do not answer your question right away, please do not spam the chat. I answer questions in the order they are received. I always give everyone a heads up, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the end of the live stream to ask questions one more time in case I did miss something. But if you do spam, I will not answer your question. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I forgot. I should get that. Shay Tiziano, Flying and Tying. I have not picked that up yet. I should. I'm gonna put that on my Amazon cart right now. I know that one's for. I guess obviously based on the title. I didn't know how much of it was from like a ground up thing. Okay, yeah, it says whether you're brand new to rope, already have years of practice, this reflective and nuanced approach has something for you. Yeah, both preparing your body to tie and be tied, building a rope kit, communicating with a spotter, creating a self suspension community, assessing risk, and much more are all discussed. There are hundreds of instructional photos and detailed explanations of ties, including multiple variations on chest and hip harnesses, as well as leg ladders, mermaids, bent leg ties, and much more. Oh! Okay, well, I'm totally picking this up. It's free on Kindle Unlimited. that's my reaction when I see something's free on Kindle Unlimited. I'm like, yes, give it to me. It's free. I probably want the paperback actually. Listen, whatever will give Shay the most money, because Shay is like one of my favorite educators ever, and like deserves all of the everything as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, Shay's great. Definitely would recommend their book. It has 192 5-star ratings. Who was the motherfucker that gave us a 1-star rating? Oh, they're saying the photography didn't work on their tablet reader? Interesting. Okay, so one person didn't like it, but literally everything else is like 5 stars. So you're probably good with this one. Okay, yeah, check that one out. It looks pretty pretty promising. So definitely not gonna give you like, Shay doesn't, for reference, for people that like know anything about how like the bondage world works, Shay's style is very like non-traditional, like shibari, non-Japanese. She has her work labeled as like circus rope a lot. So if you like stuff that's very like interactive, performative, allows you to like move around a lot and be active, like that is Shay's style. But if you want like authentic Kimbaku, like this is not going to be the book for you. But otherwise, like definitely recommend starting there. And it is always best if you can to have in-person instruction or feedback, or online like direct feedback from people is also really good. Just so you can double check to make sure you are like tying things in the correct direction, using the appropriate amount of tension, things like that can be really subtle, that are like, so I cannot articulate this enough. It is so easy to convince yourself when you're doing rope that you're doing the right thing, and then like somebody goes up to you and is like, you tied that inside out, or that's not enough tension, or this is like too much space here, or this should be stemless, or whatever. Like there's so many other things that can happen that make it really difficult to do it 100% right if you like are literally starting from the ground up. I've been bottoming to rope for a long time. Like, not bottoming for rope, bottoming to rope. Bottoming in rope for a long time. So I have a fairly like robust sense of like how things should look, how things should feel when they're like tied appropriately. That kind of gives me a leg up for starting to self tie. But if you've never been in rope at all and you kind of only vaguely know what it looks like, it can be really hard to kind of understand just kind of looking at pictures. But I'm totally gonna pick this up. Like, this looks great. This looks, yeah, she put that out. There's another book as well, that's by another Evie Vane. That's called Better Bondage for Everybody. Definitely recommend that. That's not really like a self-tying book, but it is a good thing to have. Okay, let's get back to the chat. Let's answer some questions. Mm. I mean, not a bad question. OF announced that their creators made them $4 billion. That means OF made $4 billion. So what idiot in the banking trade turns on $8 billion worth of processing business? But you see, religious conservatism. Pornography bad. That's why. Pornography bad. Isn't it like hard to put on when you can't really see yourself? This is the Hangover RX pillow balm. Oh no! My camera! No! You did so good today, little camera. Is it hot? It's kind of hot. I'll just turn my fan on low. Give me a second. I'll be back. I would like to start things slightly with the fan being. There we go. Okay, fan is on now. The audio probably changed a little bit. Let me just double check that before I start answering questions again. Okay. I think that should be okay. Let me know if it's like suddenly really bad. But yeah. Mmm. MFC? What is MFC? Is that um my free camps? My free camps? Yeah, that sounds like right. That sounds like that's probably it. Interesting, interesting. Hmm. No buttholes apparently. No buttholes allowed on OnlyFans. Oh, so I don't know if any of you guys watch Bob's Burgers, but you know what, the aunt that like draws the photos of like the animal butts? That's all I'm thinking of. I guess her content wouldn't be allowed on OnlyFans. No butts. Inappropriate. Even though everyone literally has a butt. Hi, Brittany! Welcome to the live stream. I don't know if you're still here, but if you are, hello. Oh, it's 20% of every sale. Wow. Okay, that's actually worse than I thought it was. I like how credit card tells us how to spend our money. Like, what is your concern? Like, that's the thing though. Like, is there somebody holding credit card companies accountable? Where they're like, if you process this payment, we'll destroy your business, even though you literally are worth billions of dollars. Like, why are they concerned? Like, other than I guess the moral proclivities of the people that do the payment processing, like, why is it their concern about what it is that they're processing? You know? Okay, we have a super chat from Mr. Beansman. You've talked about things like not doing suspension for your first rope scene. Do you have any floor work ties you recommend against for beginners? Okay. TKs. Takatekotes, gotes, basically anything. Here. I don't know if I can like stand up and show you guys, but like anything that involves like this. Like don't do anything that looks like this. Pretty much. Well, I say that, but technically, I guess you could do something like that where your arms are behind your back and you're not putting wraps over your arms at all in any location. But that is like a really like shoulder hurty position that a lot of people find difficult to be in, that can, even if it doesn't cause nerve damage in your arms, can still cause shoulder injuries and are risky even if not under load. So I would say probably start with anything involving like TKs, like a simple chest harness. Let's see, what else I would recommend not doing for beginners? Um, Anything involving the neck, probably I'd stay away from. Anything going like a rope in the mouth, genital rope, and like the reasons why I say to avoid that as a beginner is because those can be very like emotionally intense, even if they're not like physically risky, and it's kind of dangerous to, I think, do that. Like rope is already a really complicated thing to process sometimes, and I don't want people to be put in a position where like they're going really really deep into headspace and having a lot of complicated feelings and struggling to process it because of like how intense the thing was that they did. So like the neck, the genitals, um, rope around the face, that can be really really fun, but it can also be really intense and it can make people feel claustrophobic, it can make people feel trapped. um, so I generally don't recommend that for beginners, but really the only thing I would like for sure stay away from is like TK, gote, takata kote, whatever you want to call it. Or like behind the arms, behind the back, wraps around the arms, like kind of position. Generally not something I really recommend for anyone to do, to be honest. But because people do it in Japan, and I guess we can't figure out another thing to do that we like just as much, is going to be around regardless of how safe or dangerous it is. Yeah. Also, definitely worth checking out the MP Experiences channel. Definitely worth checking out Brady's channel. We love them both here. They are wonderful people. And MP Experience, if you guys do have any questions related to like femdom stuff, developing yourself as a dominant, being a rope top, like all that stuff, like their channel gets into that shit. So go check it out because it's totally worth it. I know, it is basically like a state tax, you know? It's crazy. So much money just to be able to use their platform. Exactly. Yeah. This is a labor issue. They need you working in Amazon factories and making your own schedule, owning your own labor. I mean, it like I walked by a coffee shop today when I was going to the post office that was like due to an unexpected like staff shortage will be closing at 2. Like between COVID and people realizing because of COVID that like normal jobs suck and working 9 to 5 is like literally a necessary for productivity. They're like, we can't give people too much freedom, and we especially cannot give sex workers freedom. That's a big no-no. Anyone that is making their own hours and working for themselves as opposed to working in the system is not something I guess traditional banks like to see, I suppose. Maybe they make less money from that. I don't know. Um, uh, Nagatamori, sushi served on nude women, custom from Japan. Restaurants are a thing in NYC, FL, FetLife, Toronto, etc. Have you seen or are aware of Nyotamori munches, parties, events? Um, I have. I've never been to one because for me that's like that exists in the same space to me as like white people using antique kimonos for kink, where it's like I understand where the kink comes from, but I it gets like really into yellow fever territory like kind of quickly, like especially if it's like white men serving sushi on Asian women and eating off of just like in like a kink setting. I know that people do it. I know someone here locally that did an event like that, but it wasn't sushi, it was cake. Like I'm fine with it if you're not trying to make it like the biggest air quotes around this. If you're not trying to make it too Japanesey and like a weeaboo like yellow fever kind of a way. If you're like taking the idea of like serving food on a nude person, but you're doing it in your own way, like that I'm fine with. And the person I know that did that like did it with like birthday cake. I think that's like perfectly fine. But like with the sushi and if you take it too far one direction, it gets like kind of a little too much for me to be like comfortable with. Does that make sense? I'm not saying it's logical. I haven't like thought about this too deeply, but my impulse is like I don't think that sounds like like something I like am super comfortable with people doing necessarily trying to recreate, you know. But the concept I definitely have heard of. Exactly. I'm having a lot of feelings come up with how they're choosing to approach sex workers. It's perpetuating a social climate where it's acceptable to dehumanize and discard sex work over and over. I mean, that's where we're at. That's what it is. Their values of the company. I find it so hypocritical for like places like fucking MasterCard to be like, we need to process payments from companies that like represent our values. And I'm like, I am sure you have no fucking problem processing the payments for like DuPont Chemical or oh, not the other one. Um like like or like oil rig manufacturers or um oh my god, the people that made Agent Orange. Like, whoa, why am I not able to? That wasn't DuPont, was it? That was the other one. Development. Okay, I guess that was developed by the U.S. military. I thought it was a company that did that. Um, it's gonna. Oh, Dow. That's what it is. Dow Chemical. Yeah, shows have no problems with processing their payments, but as soon as like sex workers want to be able to sell their nudes or whatever, or like a picture of them wearing a strap on, it's gone too far. That's like interesting value set we have there, isn't it? Uh, Costco on a Sunday after church, pure torture. Uh, the memories, the memories. Yeah, I haven't been to Costco in like 5 years, I think. It's been a long time. Ah, good point. The whole OnlyFans affair seems like a simple case of bait and switch. Popularize the platform and then discard the very people who made the site popular in favor of some mainstream dream. Yeah, like what are they gonna do? Like they what are they're gonna monetize people's Instagram content and like TikToks? Like is that the idea? Like we're gonna put the same stuff people put for free on other social media, but then we're gonna make people pay for it. Good plan. Good plan. definitely no issues will be had with that. The Roku is a Chromecast, or just buy a smart TV. Okay. I need to do my okay. I I need to read more. I need help. I need help with my technology. I just can't figure out all of these newfangled things. Oh, okay. So there's another Instagram page called @sexworkerhistory. Oh, that reminds me. Is it Midori? Midori, I think, is doing a like history of Shibari class with Shibari study, which I'm really excited about. Let me. When is that happening? Midori. Oh, did that already happen? Oh, I guess this must have already happened. So, there is a 2-hour long discussion that's on Shibari study, which I think is a free replay for members that's available until October 5th. And it is about the history and culture of Shibari, if you're like into stuff like that. And the reason why I recommend that like now is because Midori like specifically explores the history of sex work and like well, specifically explores the history of Shibari in the context of sex work. So, it says rope bondage and shibari are hugely popular today for individuals and subcultures exploring kink and BDSM. Have you wondered where it comes from? Have you wondered how it's developed in the distant and the recent kink past? Would you like to know about the cultural context in Japan? Are you a rope enthusiast who contemplates issues such as social justice, cultural appropriation, BIPOC kink experiences, and cultural power of pleasure? What's been lost in translation, and what are the histories and influences that we've overlooked? Midori authored the first English instruction book on shibari in 2000, when it wasn't so popular except for a small pocket of enthusiasts. She teaches classes such as Pink Japan, Sex, and Taboo in Japan Today. Recently, she wrote, quote, The History of Myths of Japanese Bondage, Censorship, Sex Work, and Othering in the World of Shibari for Spectrum Boutique Journal, and participated in the rope craft panel Tangled, Asian American Women and Rope Communities. Yeah, totally recommend Midori. Again, really, really great. We love Midori here. And if you're into like the history of BDSM and like sex worker history as it relates to BDSM and sort of more of a niche area, like totally worth listening to. Do you think it's better to have OnlyFans than to be in a contract with a bigger industry? I think that sex workers should own the means of their own production. That's what I think. I think it's there when things are not owned by the people producing the content, there will always be a layer of exploitation. It will be different exploitation. It is not necessarily better or worse, but it is different. Uh, and any of it where anything, whether it be an app that's owned by somebody else, whether you're considered an independent contractor versus an employee, whether it's a big giant porn company or a small hobby firm, anything like that can involve layers and will, by its very nature, involve layers of exploitation. So, whether or not it's better is subjective to the individual and the particular working conditions they wish they could have. And for some people, working with like a bigger company that has like more of a professional set with like photographers and directors and other staff members works better for them. Other people being able to set their own schedule, post when they want, maintain complete creative control individually for themselves is more important. So it totally depends. Just when I thought I got through all your Manson content. I mean, listen, when I thought I got through all the Manson content. I mean, at this point, we're like getting into court stuff, so things are going to be more like spread out. And I just wish that like one of the big like YouTuber law channels would pick this up, but like Emily D. Baker, Legal Eagle, any of the people that I think would normally talk about something like this, like just haven't. And I'm like, it's not the content that's the problem. Like, but they don't want to cover it for some reason. I don't know why that is. Don't know why that is. Oh my god. I never thought I'd be asked this in a live stream. This is so funny. What is your opinion on Destiny? I think Destiny is a person that has mistaken being loud and being willing to interrupt people as being intelligent and being able to make concrete arguments. There's a really good video from a YouTuber that's actually a Harvard-trained psychiatrist that works specifically with people that work online. His name is Dr. K. He's also on Twitch, and he has a video. I believe it's called How Being Logical Can Lead to Irrationality. And essentially what it is the short summary of it in different words is like, if you are not in your wise mind, if you are not using a combination of logic and emotion together to like process things and make decisions and respond to stuff, like you are missing what it means to be rational and like have rational responses. Because just going off of what you think logic is and ignoring your emotions does not mean you're not having an emotional experience. You can pretend I'm perfectly logical and I'm totally rational. If you're not acknowledging the feelings, you're not being rational. All you're doing is you're shoving down the emotions. So I think Destiny is a blowhard that is not worth paying attention to and is high on his own supply. Really, that's what I think about like basically every dude on Twitch that talks about politics. Like, I like the Surfs. I like Hassan. That's pretty much it. I was like the only people I'm willing to listen to that are like YouTuber, like Twitch, like debate. Like that isn't really debate bros at that point. Like Hassan's not a debater. I mean the Surfs kind of debate, but not really. Like otherwise, like if it's like a political commentator, it's like a guy on Twitch that live streams. Like I don't really like any of them at this point. Like they've all disappointed me, and like there are so many other people that have way more interesting ideas that are not that, you know? Yeah, he has really locked down his audience, though, I will say that. He's figured out what his audience wants. He's probably making good money. Okay, it's 10-minute warning. So if you have not asked a question and you would like to, ask it now. If you asked a question and I haven't gotten to it yet, ask it again, and we'll get to it. We probably won't stop exactly at 8, so it's not really like exactly 10 minutes. You know, I'll be a little bit flexible, but you know, general warning, we are coming towards the end of the live stream experience. Oh, okay. So there is another Midori class that is happening in 2 weeks as well. That's called The Making of Shinshibari, which is more histories and cultures. Oh, this is literally my question. What is the kimono conundrum? What is the kimono conundrum indeed? Please, I want your opinion, Midori. I have mine. But yeah. Join Midori for another fascinating discussion on the historical and cultural influences that has brought us to Shinshibari or modern Kimbaku. Ask questions or just listen. Will she explain what flaming Christians, pink train cars, virtues of gammon, and bonsai trees have to do with Shinshibari? We don't know. Okay, this is like totally worth it. I'm linking to this in the chat right now in case any of you guys want to check this out, but that's happening in 2 weeks. You've explained the situation well, Evie, but I'm sure also where the adult industry pretty much migrated to OnlyFans in the past years. I mean, like, it's definitely like the happening app right now, but there's always going to be people that make stuff independently. There's always going to be people that are in sort of like boutique, small, like more queer-oriented, more like feminist-oriented companies, but yeah, like OnlyFans was like the hot thing that people were going to if they were starting the, you know, process of becoming a sex worker for sure. Keep the ASMR going. Okay, if somebody donates $5 and tells me to read something in ASMR, I will do it. That's how that works. Because the ASMR voice is not easy. First tickle session was awesome, although my dominatrix had even longer nails than I expected. Listen, always expect dominatrixes to have long nails. But the session was fun. Yeah, awesome. Glad you had a good time. We love it when people have a fun time. Okay, interesting. Small time author here. That route on just posting stuff without much editing is over. Amazon changed how things paid out a few years back, and it hit really low quality stuff really hard. It used to be that you only had to have 5 to 10% of your story read to get full credit. Now you get credit per page. Yeah, I remember they moved to a per page model. I hadn't realized that it hit like low quality stuff really hard, but I guess that makes sense. Like at some point, the market just gets flooded, and you have to like do something about it, right? Yeah, the mic cutting out sometimes is because of the filter. Like that's like the reason you guys can't hear my fan is because of the filter, and that's the trade-off of I've explained this every time I've live streamed since like the last like 2 months. But if you hear my voice cutting out, that is because the broadcasting software I use the noise reduction filter on it that makes it so you can actually hear me talking right now and not my AC unit. Like it occasionally will like clip out some of my words. I know it's a little bit annoying, but the option is either I don't stream for 2 months because it's too hot and I can't have my fan on and all of my equipment would overheat and die, or my voice occasionally like sounds a little bit cut off. That's how it works. Okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to read in my ASMR voice now. I just got an emoji with a pear, so I guess I'll read the next thing in ASMR, the next question. Hmm. Oh wow, we're literally like just getting to the part where I talked about sapiosexual. I'm so behind in the chat. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. So Massa Mouse said the things I described had only happened with him. Out of 20 years of relationships, he is the only person who's given me the butterflies. Skipped heartbeat, momentary breathlessness, dot dot dot, at Evie. uh, that is, that's totally fair. I mean, yeah, I cannot give you a label for you. That could be Demi, could be Gray A, could be Gray Arrow, could be any combination of the above. Only you will know internally which label works the best for you. Hmm. Okay, I'm like back and forth. Oh, we're at the bottom of the chat. Oh god. Okay. Okay. You have like a couple minutes here to answer questions. More ASMR. Okay. Let me find something to read first. Oh god. Okay. The chat is just too powerful. It's just too powerful. I keep losing my it keeps being too long and then I lose my place. Um mhm. Yeah, the MP experience, by the way. He said the MP experience as their username. I don't want to confuse people, but it's Madam Posh is like the human behind it, by the way. FYI. Mm. Okay. Um, Also, hey Evie, do you have any tips on how to deal with a sub drop? I had my first IRL session thing yesterday and it dropped hard and I'm struggling. I'm gonna turn off my fan actually. Give me a second. I want you guys to be able to hear this ASMR in like full quality. I'm gonna turn off my fan. We're almost at the end of the stream, so I hope that I can have it off for a bit and not have it be an issue. So give me a second here. So my voice should stop cutting out, but my camera may also die. So that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off we're dealing with. Okay. This is just like my regular microphone without the filter on it. So I turned on my fan so you guys shouldn't be able to hear anything extra, but like again, my camera may die. Anyways. Also, hey Evie, do you have any tips on how to deal with the sub drop? I had my first IRL session thing yesterday and dropped pretty hard and I'm struggling. Any tips would be appreciated. I actually have a whole video where I talk about how to deal with sub drop. It's a little bit of an older video, but I think it's still worth checking out. I always advocate for negotiating for aftercare as part of any scene that you do, even if you don't think it'll be intense, especially if it's your first time, because you can get sub drop even if the scene itself wasn't something that was mentally grueling or physically challenging. But what you can do if you don't have a way to get in touch with your top to do aftercare with them now is to practice self-care. And I know that that term has kind of become loaded over the years, and a lot of people sort of have treated it like it's a way to like spend money on expensive hobbies or, you know, getting your nails done or things like that. But actually doing self-care doesn't have to be that expensive. You know, it's things like making sure that you're hydrated, getting enough sleep, eating good food, taking a shower, taking a bath, stuff that you know is relaxing. And something that I would really recommend doing is engaging in as many senses as possible at the same time. So something where maybe you're burning a candle and you're eating something and you maybe have like some soft music on and you're doing a lot of like sensory things at once, and that kind of can help reset your system a little bit. And I think that can be helpful, but just and not overly physically exerting yourself, and making sure you're really listening to your body and making time to do what you want to do that you find relaxing if you've had like stress in general. But typically the good thing is sub drop doesn't really last that long, maybe like a day or two at the most for most instances. And having reassurance like verbally from your top can be really good, or talking to other people, maybe friends in the community that you have for support, or playing video games, or petting your dog. And part of what you can do the more that you do BDSM is figuring out like what works for an aftercare routine, so you can do that like as soon as possible after the scene is over, so you can prevent sub drop from happening. So that's my answer. I hope that you could hear that, and thanks for asking your question, and I hope that you have a good night. Okay, I don't know if anyone could actually like hear that. I feel like I was trying to be really close to the microphone, but yeah, I hope that you like that. That's my answer in ASMR. Okay, let's see what's next. We got like a tons of stuff about like sapiosexuality and stuff, and that's all fine. I just like, again, like my personal experience of sapiosexuality is like otherwise like straight like cis white guys that say they're sapiosexual, but really it's because they want like college educated people that have the same hobbies as them. And I just think there's like we need to like literally, if you go to the LGBTQ plus wiki, it literally like frames like sapiosexual as like potentially being an ableist term. So I think there has to be, I feel like there should be a way where we can talk about having intellectual attraction. And because obviously that is a thing that people experience, but I think the term has just kind of been warped from its original meaning, such that I think it can inadvertently signal things that people maybe aren't intending to. It's like, it's complicated. It's complicated. Hopefully the ASMR, because ASMR, actually listening to relaxing ASMR can be a form of aftercare too. So I might want to check that out as well. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Like, definitely, like, rubber or, like, latex floggers. Like, anything that's a non-porous surface is a lot, like, safer to use around the genitals. I just use leather as an example because most people have leather floggers unless they're vegan and they go out of their way to, like, buy something made from rubber. Or I guess if they're, like, a latex fetishist, and then that's a little bit different. Okay, it sounds like I really need to check out Tying and Flying because I have not read it yet because I was like, oh, I don't really like necessarily want to do self-suspension. I don't have a place where I can do it because I live in a little apartment. I'm sorry, I'm gonna put hard points in here. No, that's a good point. Oh, yeah, that's so true. Just because you got your knots badge in Boy Scout doesn't mean you don't need to start at the beginning, LMAO. Well, that's the fucking thing though, right? Like, especially if you're doing like shibari, like legitimately, it's like 2 knots and like, I don't know, 6 to 10 frictions or something. And like, literally, if you learn like 3 knots, that's all the knots you need to learn how to do bondage. Like, that's pretty much it for most people. And in a lot of cases, you can literally get away with learning 1 knot. The knots is not what you're learning how to do. I guess that's a pun, isn't it? I'm sorry. Like, you're not learning how to make knots, like, when you do rope bondage. The knot is the starting point, and then you gotta learn how to do everything else around that. It's totally different. Totally different. I'm gonna try to answer. Let's see. I feel like I'm pretty good. I feel like I have more energy. I kind of want to keep going, but I should also do something else with my day. So it is 8 p.m. and I need to take Bandit outside. Sorry, I'm just like so much back and forth. I love the conversation. Questions. Just because like I normally like read this stuff out, but I want to make sure I get to questions. But I hope that you all okay. So I got to the sub drop question. We answered that one. Yeah, for sure. Sex work is not an oxymoron. It's bloody hard work and stressful, especially if you rely on the income. Oh yeah, you definitely work. Like you realize, like everyone I know that does sex work, it's like you just answer a million messages from people that don't ever like actually intend to pay you for anything, and people that treat you like garbage when you don't want to do something they ask for, and like it's not fun. Like you have to have a very specific personality to be a sex worker, I think, to be able to handle that job. It's stressful. Like it's not the same thing as like having to go to a 9 to 5 job and like fill out paperwork and have a manager, but it's different stressful. It's different hard work, and hard work doesn't look like only one thing, you know? I mean, like, I don't care if people get mad at me about my opinions. They can get mad about my opinions if they want. It's my channel. It's my YouTube. I'll do what I want to. If you guys like it, that's great. But if you don't, I understand. It is lupine, as it is spelled. Evie lupine. I haven't met Midori, like, And hi, I'm Evie. Nice to meet you, Midori. I haven't met her directly. I went to her humiliation class that she taught here a couple years ago, and I also participated in like a performance art thing that she did at an art festival a couple years ago as well. I don't know if that counts as meeting before, but I have taken classes from Midori before and like been around them, but not on like a personal like first name direct basis. Would you consider only answering super chats? I feel like it's great for you to interact with all of us in real time via the live chat. Yeah, I always like my first priority is answering super chats, but I don't ever want to make people feel like the only way I'll answer them is if they use a super chat, because I just want, if people can only afford to like talk for free, I don't want to gate that off. But like definitely, if anybody ever uses a super chat, like I will answer that question first for sure. I sometimes I mention it more, but in general, as like for my live streams, if you put in a super chat or if you do streamlabs, then you get real time answers. It's very exciting. Hmm. Um. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it'll lead to some kind of grassroots effort to legalize sex work. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think people like have the like political will sometimes to like do stuff that's that intense, just because like QAnon is so prevalent and like that line of conservatism is so prevalent that like it would, I think individual states might be able to uh, lead to more legalization. But I live in an area that is like very liberal. But if you work at a strip club here, you the fees that they charge to like work at a strip club is like you usually end up owing money at the end of the night. Like there are very restrictive rules over like being able to touch the people that work at a strip club, and also you can't drink at the strip club, which reduces the number of clients. And it doesn't mean that people don't show up to the club drunk. It just means they can't drink while they're there. So they show up already like completely plastered. So and I live in a really like liberal area. Like you think they'd be much more lax with how they handle like how strip clubs work, but as a piece of evidence for how even a very like liberal area like handles things like that, it's like because there is all this language about like preventing like sex trafficking and preventing the exploitation of minors, like we look at like states still have it like legal for like 16-year-olds to get married with parental permission, but yeah, the real issues are like strip clubs operating, like that's the thing, that's the problem. um just they look at the wrong thing, and there's like this very like weird moral signaling that happens where oh, it's about keeping the women like safe, it's about keeping like, okay, well, is that actually what the people that work there like want though? Because if it's not what they want, you're not actually helping anyone. I know, what a strange idea, what a strange idea. Sub drop, is that a YouTuber content creator question or a bad rope or technical question? I guess, yeah, don't drop your submissives when they're in rope. That's a good one. But in this case, it means the ill after effects that can happen when you have a scene and all the hormonies happen. Oh, thank you, Indy. Just wanted to say I've learned a lot about BDSM from you, and I'm very grateful for your channel. Keep being your wonderful self, Evie. Thank you so much, Indy. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I'm glad you enjoyed the content, and I am very lucky I get to keep doing this on YouTube. Very, very lucky. Okay, so in regards to the sub drop question, Scare Bear said, I'm very new to this, so take this with a grain of salt, but I have found that drinking a hot drink helped me a little. I was also caught off guard by sub drop the other week. Yeah, for sure. Like having something that's like very soothing and calming to your body, like sipping a hot broth or having a tea, something that's like comforting from your childhood, that's a food you really enjoy, like all of that can totally be very like relaxing and recentering. Thank you for hanging out, Brittany. Have a good night at the gym. Talk to you later. Oh, yeah, like for sure, like Western style bondage, like more traditional American bondage can totally have like obscure knots in it. But like usually when people are learning rope, like these days at least, like what's taught in a lot of like classroom settings and conventions, like what most people want to learn is more based in Japanese like style rope. Even if it's not like pure shibari, it's like influenced by that enough to where like the obscure knots are like a core part of the learning experience. Oh, thank you. Okay, so Jess gave a little like purple thank you heart. We love it. That's very cute. We love the stickers. Let's see. I'm gonna answer. Oh god, it's like 8:12. Okay, one more question, and then we're gonna wrap up for tonight. I promise. One more question. Who will it be? Who will it be? Ooh, Oregon and Maine are working on decriminalizing sex work. I mean, listen, every day moving to Oregon sounds more and more appealing, TBH. I love it here. Like, I feel like I hate moving. Like, moving is my least favorite thing. And I've done it, like, so much in the last couple of years. It's really disruptive. It's, like, just not emotionally good for me to move. But I will do it if I have to. I do really like not having to pay state income tax, though. That is definitely beneficial when you're self employed. So maybe I'll just move closer to Oregon. Maybe I'll just move closer. Oh, yeah, like a comfy blanket. Yeah, that can be really good for sub drop, also. Oh, it's hard because sometimes it can, like, if it's too hot, then you're like, it's uncomfortable, it's too hot. Blah, blah, blah. I completely forgot to talk about what's going on in my local community and like reopening bullshit. So I guess I'll have to save that for next time because there may actually be some updates. So I guess tune in next week to find out what bullshit my local community is trying to do for reopening during COVID. Speaking of moving to Oregon, yeet myself to Oregon, slowly move more south. Oh no. Okay, where'd my question go? I just found a question. I'm just trying to make sure I haven't missed anything. What's so great about Oregon? Um, I say Oregon. I really mean Portland. I like Portland as a city. Like when I've traveled there, it's been really nice. The no sales tax is good. The way that they treat, for example, like sex work is a lot better. The way that they treat anything like more erotic or adult oriented is way better. Just like being in a different environment that's like still kind of familiar, I guess. Like, not really anything like in particular that's like super special, but Oregon is just a nice place from the time I have spent there. Okay, so that's going to be it for the live stream today, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. This was a wonderful Friday. I think we had a really, really good time today. I do these every Friday at 6 o'clock. That is PDT. So that's 6 West Coast, 9 on the East Coast, apparently morning in Australia on Saturday. Apparently. But yeah, hopefully I will see you all again next week. I have a video that's coming out, I believe, on Sunday. So look forward to that. Stay safe, and I will talk to you all again very soon.